22 million black victims of Americanism are waking up, and they're gaining a new political consciousness, becoming politically mature. And as they develop this political maturity, they're able to see the recent trends in these political elections. Any minority that has a block of votes that stick together is in a strategic position. Either way you go, that's who gets it. You're in a position to determine who go to the White House and who stay in the doghouse. You're the one who has that power. You and I have never seen democracy. All we've seen is hypocrisy. When we open our eyes today and look around America, we see America not through the eyes of someone who has enjoyed the fruits of Americanism. We see America through the eyes of someone who has been the victim of Americanism. We don't see any American dream. We've experienced only the American nightmare. We haven't benefited from America's democracy. We've only suffered from America's hypocrisy. And the generation that's coming up now can see it and are not afraid to say it. 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 And are not afraid to say it.
Yes.
And are not afraid to say it.
Yes, yes, yes.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Black Westchester Magazine presents People Before Politics Radio every Sunday 6 to 8 on InTheMixRadio.com. I am your host, A.J. Woodson, with your other host, Black by popular demand, David K. Jones.
Yes, sir.
Word up. Shout out to Dr. Bob Baskerville doing the family thing, taking his kid back up to college and everything. He ain't going to be here this week. So I just want to say first off, thank everybody who holds us down. You know what I'm saying? Without us, you know what I'm saying, we got a good show. Y'all ain't there. It wouldn't matter. You know what I'm saying? A lot of y'all hold us down, tune in every week. The Brenda L. Crumps giving us all the information. You know what I'm saying? We appreciate all of you.
Yes, agreed.
Actually, we're on Facebook Live, on my page, on Damon's page. We'll share it on some other pages. Feel free to share it on your page.
And we also on Periscope. Damon K. Jones, check us out. People Before Politics show on Periscope. Soon we're going to be, Periscope, Twitter. We're going to be tweeting it out later, show all through, so people can see the show. Can't see A.J. Woodson, but you can hear him.
Why you can't see me?
Because the Periscope.
Oh, Periscope. Yeah.
He's like,
I was like,
I'm
on the picture right there. I'm sitting right there, the picture.
Yeah, because Periscope. Soon we'll get that right, and we can have the show up on Periscope. So
no doubt. So without further ado, a lot of things going on. Yesterday we'll talk about that a little later, but we went to the 2017 National Conference for Independence, which was pretty cool. That was my second time going. Dr. Bob went with us. This was his first time.
Do you think they would we able to play that from my page without them cutting us off?
C-SPAN, because C-SPAN.
No, I've recorded it live.
Oh, can you play the live? Well, that's your live, so.
Yeah, without them cutting me.
Without them cutting, I would think that should be because they let it rock on your live and they left it up. You know what I'm saying? When they're gonna cut you, when you're using somebody else's stuff on live, they cut that live. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Because I think it would be good if we could play Dr. Laura Falani later on in the show.
Okay.
That was like just about 10, 15 minutes.
Oh, this thing.
Yeah. And they're gaining a new
back that up.
There you go. Q.
Becoming political.
Oh, swell.
Thank everybody.
As they become, develop this political maturity, they're able to see.
I don't find out why it keeps doing that.
All right. Thank you for everybody that's watching. Please share the show if you can while AJ's having fun twisting and turning the show. Hey, Rick Shamley, what's happening? What's happening, Brother Rick? Old time friend, Greenberg.
Huh?
Yeah, right. Thank you. Everybody share the show, man. Please share the show. Big shout out to Clyde Hilliard, my man, Clyde Hilliard. Hey, D. Wilson, what's happening? Everybody just watching, please share the show because so we just a little technical difficulties, but we're making it. It's a Sunday. I want everybody definitely check us out next Sunday. We're gonna have black law enforcement organizations from throughout New York will be here. New York City Corrections, NYPD, MTA Guardians, New York City Police Guardians, New York City Correction Guardians. I think New York State Correction Guardians Association. We're going to have the Westchester Correction Association up in here.
Oh, that's what's up. Yeah.
And because of the
that's going to be a hell of a show.
The Women's History Month event that's going to be held at Mount Vernon City Hall and be hosted by Councilman Andre Wallace. So we're going to have different black law enforcement organizations here next Sunday talking about
from around the state, right?
From around the state, talking about the importance of women's history, importance of black women in the history of law enforcement throughout the state, and to take time out and recognize the sacrifices, of women, not just in law enforcement but in general, and and while I'm on that subject, condolences and prayers going out to the two sisters, Yadria Arroyo, the FDNY EMT that was killed by some crazy guy that jumped in the car to steal the ambulance, and in the process he hit her and ran her over. And Shaniqua Osborne is a young sister who had a heart attack, just was at work and had a heart attack and just collapsed and then died at the hospital.
That was what, the last couple of days?
That was like yesterday or the day before, and condolences to her family, and definitely, I mean, people don't talk about, we always talk about, police reform and law enforcement reform, which is a necessary conversation, but we fail to discuss the dangers, that they are dangers. There are dangers, and one thing, and I'm looking at the picture of this young sister, from NYPD who died of a heart attack. One thing they don't discuss that, heart disease and heart attacks, is prevalent among law enforcement. It's definitely prevalent among law enforcement. So we have to, in the process when we're talking about reform, we also need to talk about the mental health and the health of law enforcement officers. Because regardless of what we say, we need police in our community.
Absolutely.
Let's not get it twisted. We just need the right police and the right policing in our community. But overall, these officers that give their lives on a daily basis, these first responders, firemen, policemen, correction officers, probation, parole, even court officers, on any given day, they are a peace officer of the state, and they're bound to respond to situations on or off duty. So we never talk about the health concerns that they have, and heart disease and heart attacks is very high in the law enforcement and in the public service sector when dealing with public safety, is very high. and that's a conversation that we continue to fail, and I hope we have a discussion around that after this sister passed and just had a heart attack at work. You know, I mean, just stressful situations when you dealing with our people on a daily basis, when you dealing and that's no matter what community, you know, even in the white community, you know, but when you're dealing with our people on a daily basis, it's a stressful situation.
No doubt.
You know, it's constant stress. You know, one thing we don't talk about is the mental health of police officers. You know, what does that do with the officer that sees a baby's body in pieces? You know, how does that affect an officer's mental stability, and how and does that desensitize them? You know, or when you respond, you're an EMT and you respond to a car crash and someone's head is severed from their body, and you got to put that damn thing on a gurney or something. You know, how does that feel? How do you think that person feels? You know? So these are the issues that people deal with. You know, correction officer, you respond and the dude is all stabbed up. He got 18 holes in his body and he's bleeding out. And you have to get bed sheets and everything to try to apply the pressure until the medical unit responds. You know, or someone takes his life, and you have to open up the cell and pull a dead body down. So how do you think the response is going to be from that person? How do you think that they're going to handle that? I mean, this happens on any given day.
That will change your mental. And the more that you see it, like you said, you do become desensitized. My man was telling me, you know, when he was first making it up the rounds of News 12, this is the early days when in Long Island. Before News 12 got to be everywhere else. He said one of the things that it was a good chance for advancement was running the camera, you know, the emergency unit. You know what I'm saying? So he was like, yo, but every given day, what they would ride up on, he said, what you see, man, it changes you. You know, people bloody, shot, and stabbed, whatever, you know, just, and that's all you're recording all day.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's all you're doing all day is recording this videotape. He's like, yo, he said that'll affect you. That'll affect you in ways you don't even know.
You're right. And big shout out
to my man Naquan. I wanted to give some of the shouts too. Cynthia Turnquest Jones tuning in. D. Wilson said, "Hey Damon, Floyd Myers, what's up, Floyd?" So what's up, brothers?
What's up, Floyd?
Demetrius G. Last name Whitted. I'm not sure if I pronounced it right. Checking in from Baltimore, Maryland. Peace, brothers.
Peace.
Also, we see. Says Cynthia already. D. Wilson. Charles Red, Rick Shamley, Larry Joyner, Tabitha Beal, Jacqueline Ward, Brenda L. Crump, of course.
Sister Crump, what's happening?
Always tuned in. And there's a couple others I got to go through on a different page because if you say it on one page, I got to go. I got to move between our pages.
And Sister Najib Isaac said, "This is why there is PSD," and I totally agree. You know, and I totally agree. And some officers don't have a life.
Right.
And that's a big problem.
And your job in divorce and whatever.
Yeah, hey, listen, it's a high rated divorce. You know, it's a high rated divorce, and these officers not having lives, they get caught up in that job.
Right, their job is a life.
Well, you wonder why some of these male officers and male and female officers get caught up, dating inmates and dealing with inmates.
Then they just had that some
yeah
female,
that
she just retired. She just quit because they got her on tape kissing the inmate.
Yeah, she was kissing the inmate, man. Yeah. And I joke about it because
she was a senior officer too. She wasn't like.
Well, she was a captain. She was a supervisor. Yeah. But it doesn't matter. Yeah. Look, it doesn't matter. Yeah. And you have to have outlets. And you have to have you definitely have to have a life.
Play hard, work hard.
Not even that. You got to check the mentality of the person because look, a lot of times the person, because the mentality of the person, he's nobody in the street. He wasn't nobody in the street, but when he put on that blue uniform, you got to understand there's power behind that blue uniform.
Absolutely.
There's power behind that badge.
Absolutely.
So you end up becoming somebody. You end up becoming somebody. But then if you're not mentally stable, you might, or you don't have a life, and you in that facility 16 hours a day, 3-4 times a week, and you a female, and maybe you going through something, and you working on the men, and these dudes is, and I joke about it, I jokingly say it, but, the reality is real. I mean, you got these dudes working out every day, they body glistening, they coming out the shower. You could get caught up with that. You understand? I'm just keeping it 100 because I've been here long enough. Females can get caught up with that. You got to be.
Vice versa too.
That's what I was getting ready to say. And vice versa too. And these dudes get on the block, and these chicks is coming out the shower, smelling all good and stuff. They got the little soaps and all that they buy from commissary. If you ain't got a life, you get caught up with that, which you shouldn't. You get caught up with that. It was getting so bad that's when the governor at the time, I don't remember which governor it was, but that's when they passed a law that having sex with an inmate is rape, even if it's consensual. Wow. Because cats in Bedford, and let me tell you, when I started, it was in 90, height of crack era, and I went up to Bedford, and I was like, Jesus, this is all the fine women that they all locked up. I mean, it was just hundreds of, and beautiful looking women. I ain't gonna lie, but they were inmates. But how is these women that's doing life sentences ending up pregnant?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They were ending up pregnant. So they had to do something to stop all this, because they didn't want to start saying that male officers couldn't work with female inmate because that was discriminatory. But they also found studies showed that the opposite sex, as officers working with the opposite sex, it ended up better, and it was less officer inmate clashes as far as being assaults and stuff, because it wasn't the woman on woman thing and the male on male machismo thing, right. And it calmed a lot of stuff like that. But the drawback was you had a lot of officers and inmates having relationships. So they had to stop. They had to stop all that. So they passed one of those laws that they passed was any type of sex, anything sexual, it was considered rape because the officer was in a position of power, even if it was consensual.
No doubt.
And cats was getting caught out there, and they started going to jail for it. But it still hasn't stopped. Unfortunately, it still hasn't stopped, and it won't stop. Because it's the nature of the beast.
Shout to Kevin Bunch. He said he's listening, and I forget my man's name that came through with the book, Corruption Officer.
Yes.
He dropped it. He dropped it.
Yeah. I mean, it's real. It's real.
Go check that. If you have not read that book, read that book. That's from an insider, someone who was a correction officer, got caught up in it, actually got arrested, did some time.
Right, for bringing drugs in. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it's.
He got caught up in that life, yo.
It's real. And unfortunately for that captain, man, she had to get set up because, how did the inmate get a cell phone with a camera?
He had an iPhone in there. He was like, yo,
that's how
the cell phone with an iPhone.
Yeah. How the hell he get, and did he get trouble for having the camera, or because you're not supposed to have phones in the building?
Right, that's what they said.
We learned that from the selfie scandal.
Right.
You're not supposed to have phones in the building, but how did he get it? And he taped it, and
did he post it online or something?
Well, they said that. What's that site? Hip hop. What was that? What's that?
World Star?
What's that? What's that Negro site? All Star Hip Hop.
World Star.
World Star. Yeah. It was posted on World Star.
Oh, then it went viral.
Yeah, it went viral.
Yeah, anything on World Star like that,
I mean, but in the reality, if he wasn't working with the department and catching it out, he should be catching charges too.
Absolutely.
He should be catching charges too, because I remember that other incident where they took a picture of an inmate like posing behind an officer and she was asleep. Oh, the officer that was asleep didn't get in trouble because they showed that she did like 4 doubles in a row.
Oh, damn.
So she was tired. Guess who got in trouble? the person that took the picture
right
got in trouble, which rightfully so. You know, so you know that's the nature of the beast. You know, and I think, you know, people don't talk about what goes on in the facility. You know, I mean, it's good to talk about the reform. There's a lot of reform that needs to happen, but there's also the officers need to be protected too, because they are getting assaulted. Don't get it twisted, like it's just a one-way road. You know, I don't support any officer assaulting an inmate, but I don't support no inmate assaulting no officer neither. Let's not get it twisted. You know, because guarantee you, if they bring it to me and it get leaked out, you will see me whipping an inmate's ass. I keep it 100. So, you know, don't start none, won't be none. Follow the rules and regulations.
You got a question. Are correction officers given random drug tests?
Yes.
There's your answer.
Yes, they do have random drug tests. And our union gave away all the protections. So, and we didn't get nothing for it. But we had one of the best drug policies, damn near in the nation, and our union gave it away because they which.
Because if you got caught, if you just went and got treatment, you was straight, right?
Well, before this new regime, in the last 10 years, they looked at drug addiction as an addiction, as a problem.
And
They
same thing.
right. They looked at it as a problem. So, you know, you was given opportunity to get better if you came up dirty, right?
Because somebody I know who came up with you, he about 7-8 times, but each time he got help and he kept his job for a while.
Right, because to
the end when he just
until it was just too much to bear. Right, because you were able to relapse every 18 months.
I don't know if he timed it out, but he
right. You was able the way it was, because you know you could only go back 18 months to charge somebody for something.
Oh, okay.
So if you stayed clean for 18 months,
yeah,
you know, you were good. And if you had a relapse, you was good. But now with the new, it's just strictly no tolerance. So if you piss in the cup and you dirty, you fired. So it ain't even like you got a problem.
Wow.
So the best thing, if you have a problem, you need to come to the department and let them know you have a problem. But if you don't and you get caught, and if you get caught with that drug test, you know, there's no tolerance now. You know, and which I thought that it should have been somewhere in the middle, you know, because we do have one of the highest stressing jobs, wow. You know, and alcoholism and self-medication does happen, whether we want to admit it or not, you know, because there's really, you know, no outlets and there's no really mental support for these officers, which it should be.
Yeah, real quick, I have posted something from the letter to the editors from this group, I forget the name, from Yonkers, and it was the tale of two cities, Yonkers and the murder of Derek, I don't know how to pronounce the last name, Ubils, L-E-S, and Lorraine Lopez was thanking me for posting it, for speaking the truth, and she said Derek was a childhood boyfriend, BFF's friend. You know, I wanted to know, Lorraine, if you're listening right now, I don't know if you're listening, if you could call in 718-705-4959 and talk just briefly about that whole situation. Like, because like I said, I ran the letter, but I'm not well versed on it either. And I know, you know, they said he got murdered, and I don't know what the whole story is. And you said you know him, so if you could call in during the show, 718-705-4959, we appreciate that. I was going to tell you something else too, and I forgot. I've said it several times because a lot of people feel like, thank you, Sandy, for sharing the video on your page. She left a comment. She left 2 comments. What do you think about the HALT bill? HALT, all capitals. Do you support it? And I read in Rikers, mental health professionals are afraid to treat violent offenders. Those are two questions from Sandy.
I got to look up the Hope bill. Sure.
Oh, and Brenda, of course, always sharing. She shared a link of New Jersey women's prison.
Oh,
rape scandal. At least 8 officers fired, facing prison. She posted a story about that.
You're talking about for alternatives to long-term solitary confinement. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I ran something on that.
We should look. You should support that. I mean, solitary confinement does not correct anyone. It's just punishment. You know, it's just punishment, and it's not. Look. I've sat there and I watched, people put in special housing units, and it literally does not correct. It really does not correct. So we have to change the modus operandi of what corrections are, if the whole institution of corrections, if we are going to try to make citizens of or abiding citizens of people that come to jail. But to wait till we get to that person gets to jail, in some cases we're too late. We do not have any or many programs to address these people that are in need before they get to the point that they have to commit crimes to survive. There's difference of committing crimes when you are a criminal and committing crimes to survive. And a lot of young youth, they're committing crimes to survive. Or it is an ongoing thing. How do you explain, second and third generations that are locked up? How do you explain that, the mother is in the female unit, the father's in the penitentiary, and the son's in the minor block? How do you explain that? How do you get around that? How do you address that? Because we're not addressing it. Basically, we're not addressing it. We're just housing people, primarily black folks, and now Hispanics, because they're the face of immigration, and they'll be being housed in these private jails throughout the country. And we're not addressing the issue. The immigrants will be the new Negroes in the penal system.
Absolutely.
And I saw that coming in 1990 because back then there wasn't a lot of Hispanics. Now, you have one TV with Spanish on and one TV with English on because there's a lot, and they have to address the overall population.
Two things real quick. Sandy was talking about, I know Ken Bright and Johnny Perez have been doing a lot about this bill.
Yeah,
and,
big up to both of them.
Right, and it's she says it's a social arrangement called structural racism. And then we have, before I do that, what I did want to do is congratulations to your daughter.
Congratulations, Maisha Stokely.
She received the
Harriet Tubman Award.
Trailblazer Award for her work for all that she has done. They honored her at Greater Centennial at the 9:30 service. It was a beautiful thing. We're going to do a little spotlight piece on her sometime throughout the week and talk about it with her and everything. But she is the owner and operator of Cupcake Cuties, one of our sponsors, and we just wanted to congratulate her and give her a round of applause.
What's up, brothers? How y'all doing today?
Hey, what's happening?
What's good?
Yo, Damon.
Yo, Cynthia.
When you're in the, do you ever speak to them? Do you ever get a chance to ask them about their education?
What, like the level,
inmates?
the level of education?
Yes.
Well, it depends on the crime. Shoot, there's some might be in there for embezzling money. They have college degrees. You could tell who's educated and who not by the level of the crime that they commit. See, and that's the difference. And
right,
and you could tell
we're talking about individuals that commit crimes to survive.
Oh, well, no, there's no education. It's basically they're all high school dropouts, or just basically having a high school degree, And but it's and
so that high school degree, that high school degree is totally different than the high school degree that we obtained.
Can I interrupt? Just going back real quick. So I've got 2 or 3 people that have commented about the cop with the phone that they got caught, and I did see this part. They said the cell phone that the inmate had, she snuck in first off, and it does say she did sneak in stuff like a tattoo gun. And
that's right, she did sneak in a tattoo gun.
She was sneaking
See,
stuff
she
in.
shouldn't have a job.
So she snuck the phone that was led to her demise. She snuck in. Shout out to Max Maxwell. Najib Isaac, I don't know if I pronounced that right, who's had a couple of comments real quick. We'll get back to them, but I just wanted to acknowledge them, and I wanted to get back to that part before we got too far away.
Well, look, and I said it on Facebook, and I say it again. Look, any officer, especially correction officer, since that's my profession, if you sneaking shit in the jail, you should lose your job.
Yeah,
it's straight up. It's straight up. If you sneaking cell phones, and you sneaking tattoo kits.
Max says she still got her pension.
Well, yeah. See, that's the protection, because what she did was when she got caught, if she had enough.
Quit, right?
She resigned. You got to resign.
Yeah,
you resign. You put your paperwork in. If you got enough years, you could do that.
Let her quit. That's what.
Right. Yeah.
Isaac is saying that also. To Cynthia's question, Najib Isaac, and if I'm pronouncing that wrong, I apologize. He said when it comes to assault,
I think that's she.
Oh, okay. When it comes to assault, it's across the board, but grand larceny is when folks get higher in education levels. I don't know if that answers your question.
Well,
Cynthia.
That's
what one of our callers is saying, and you said it right. You said it correct the second time. Okay. So.
Yeah, but let me tell you, and that's the key to the difference, the difference of crimes. And when you get the grand larceny, you get a lot of those high level. These people come in with lawyers because they always got money. They come in with their lawyers. I mean, they come in with their lawyers. These kids are in jail for nonsense, for sneakers and cell phones and bullshit like that.
Right, and so that's why I asked you as to why, about the education part, because you also have to. What's not going hand in hand is that there's somebody that's not being charged with not educating the students.
No, how do you? Okay, and so you're talking. See, now this is even before they get to commit the crime. But how do you monitor a child, or how do you expect that child to change the culture of living when all they know is jail? All they know is jail. From day one, their mother was bringing them up to Westchester County Jail or Sing Sing to see their baby daddy, right? All they know is jail. And maybe between that time, their mama get arrested and go to the female unit. Like, how do you change that nigga culture that this young boy has been introduced in with no fault of his own, because he's just born. But how do you change that? How do you change that when the boy doesn't have any other positive role models? Right, because his father been going to jail, his uncle been going to jail, and his mama been going to jail. So jail And as you know, Cynthia, when we go and we speak to these kids in Mount Vernon and we ask them, you know, how many people do you know that's been to jail? And the whole class raise their hand. Yeah. How many people do you know that have a family member that's been locked up? And the whole class raise their hand. See, how do we change that nigger culture? Because, see, that's what it is.
Right.
And some of them thought it was cool.
That we're embedded in them. But, you know, there is so many different links. Understand? And so one of the links, which is the most powerful link, which is education, it's broken, it's tattered. So you have this little boy that comes to school, right? And he comes to school and they have certain events at the school. Say they have Father-Son night. He can't invite his dad. But individuals that is running that school, if they knew the culture of the individuals or the characters of, and I don't want to pick the word character, but I'm going to pick that, the characters of the individuals within the community that they're working in, then they know that they need to put something else in place so that child won't be like, well, I'm not going to that because my dad is in jail. There has to be something where the education system steps up to the plate because we are not stepping up to the plate because I'm a part of that system. So you have a lot of individuals who, when they come to school, you can see it. So I'm in the middle school, and I'm sitting down in the middle school, and I can point out to you who is going to go to jail. And I can point out to you who has not been pulled to the side, has not been taken time out with to try and stop that person from going to jail. That's not being done.
We got Ms. Isaac was saying some of these brothers and some sisters, they're checking out early. Then they're in the streets. What do you think they're going to get into? Hustling and fighting and scraps. There's no kingpins no more in NYC. That's over since Giuliani era.
That's right.
So as a community, we got to
say that again, AJ.
There's no more kingpins in New York City. That was over from the Giuliani era.
Right.
As a community, we gotta sacrifice time and some coins to change the mindset of our narrative. We all got to step up to serve our community. We got all these degrees, but can't educate our kids before they check out. And it was also some men got to check men when it comes to walking away from their children. Women got to check women to allow these men to be responsible fathers to their kids. And then Max said, going up top, state prison is a goal of theirs.
Right.
And Ken Bright was like preventative measures / community.
Right.
Right. And so with Damon, when Damon, see, the thing that, you know, is, and you have to have the conversation, the dialogue, the understanding. Let's keep it real.
One more second, Cynthia, I'll let you back. They asked what the number is. The number is 718-705-4959. 718-705-4959. Go ahead, Cynthia.
Right. So you have Damon and AJ, and whether, you know, everybody that's listening, and whether they know it or not, they've been going to two schools in particular, Cecil H. Parker and Graham Elementary School, going in there and sitting with the boys. See, that's because in education they call the elementary school the root.
Yeah, but hold on, Cynthia. But that's over. School stopped it, so we moving on.
Well, let me finish with it then. So,
the program was good for what it was, though, before it got stopped, though.
Right.
Yes.
So going into these elementary schools and talking to the boys, right? Men have to talk to men.
Right.
I can't be in that room. When it comes down to talk to the females, I can talk to the females. See, that is where the understanding has to start. And the other overstanding is that you don't end something like that. You have to make sure that intentionally you are embedding and putting black men in the school by any means necessary, whether it means that they're coming in to sit down and talk to the boys once a week or every other week, or they're coming for an after-school program, because there are not a lot of black men that go into the educational system, period. point blank, it's extinct. So in order for Damon not to see them, the worst thing is for Damon to be sitting with some students who are at school and then have to see them later on up at the correctional facility. There has to be a break in that. And the only way that that is going to happen, and I keep using the word only, but the only way that that is going to happen is when individuals who are leaders of schools understand that you have to make sure that black men are included in the system of what's going on in the school, and the boys have someone to talk to. And then the boys have somebody to reach out to, because then what happens is that once AJ and Damon goes into the school, then they build a rapport, and if there's something wrong, they have somebody to reach out and touch. If they don't have somebody in their community they can reach out to, they can at least reach out to Damon and AJ.
And
if Damon and AJ cannot do the job, then they can link them to somebody else. But until that is the understanding,
right,
it is not going to work.
You know what's good about that, what you just said, Cynthia, real quick? So I live around the corner from Cecil Parker. You know what I'm saying? I go to that same store that they all go to. So I see a lot of them, and they be like, yo, sometimes they be like, oh, you're that man. And I'd be like, who? And, I just wonder what they were talking about. And they're like, oh, they came to our school and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's me. And they'll see me at IHOP with their mother or in front of Andre's building, you know what I'm saying, with their mother, introduce me to their mothers. You know what I'm saying? So I've seen a lot of them in the street who remembered me from coming in. And I see one or two that walk by the house and they'll see me and they'll be with their friends and they'll be like, they'll tell their friends, yo, pull up your pants, man. And I get a kick out of that when they're telling their friends to pull up their pants because they saw me. You know what I'm saying? So, Right. And so individuals, one of the discussions that Damon was having on Facebook is in regards to snitching, right? So I know that when I walk around the school and that there's a problem, that there's certain students who you would never think that are the persons that's telling me everything that's going on, telling me what's going on. But why is that? Because I build a rapport with the individuals. See, here we go with the police, with building a rapport. You have to build a rapport with individuals in order for individuals to feel comfortable enough to come up to you and say something, and comfortable enough and have courage to say, I am in trouble and I need help. Hello, I cannot read. Mr. Damon, I don't know how to read. Well, let's make sure that you get somebody to help you learn how to read. It's not going to work. The penal system will stay loaded. The penal system will stay greased. And everybody is going to make a plethora of money off of all black boys. Plethora, there's that word again.
There go that word again. So today in church, I read off the 11 boys that were picked up in the recent the housing raids that they did. The feds and INS was with them. And so what they didn't know at the church was that two of the boys from the church was in the raid. They didn't know that. I told them that y'all need to write letters and let them know that when they get out, that you're going to have their back. They said no problem, because this is what they do not want to have. This is what Michelle Alexander spoke about in the new Jim Crow. The new Jim Crow is to make sure that when our boys go into jail, that nobody addresses them, that nobody writes to them, that nobody visits them, that nobody uplifts them, that nobody takes care of the mother that is at home and hurt because her child is in jail. And she's ashamed because her child is in jail.
Right.
She can't even go to church and say, my child is in jail. Because at church, they're going to talk about her bad. She can't walk the street because she's ashamed because her child is in jail.
A couple of quick.
So Damon talking about how do we stop this? The way that we stop it is that we have to address it.
Couple other people tuning in. Cynthia Woods Randolph, Nas Duncan. I saw a couple other names. Rich Stacks. There was at least one more name I didn't see before. I think that's it right there. Go ahead.
I forgot who was it, Damon, that gave us the list of the prisoners for us to write letters to. Was it Sandy?
I'm not sure. I couldn't do that.
I think it was Sandy.
You said you couldn't
but
do
I
that?
know
No,
that
I
you
couldn't
couldn't
do
so
that.
I took the list. The list.
Yeah, but I
and
couldn't.
gave it to people at church. Understand?
No, and that's good. And that's good. No, and that's
Understand?
good.
and you know, and uplifting each other. The thing is that what I'm getting to right now, because I just need to plug in my little thing, is I'm getting to the part about reading. And so reading is the issue right now, where individuals are unable to read. And what I mean by that is that they are unable to comprehend what they're reading. They cannot read. They do not have a sophisticated language. Coming to my school, you'll hear they talk about everything except for education. They can cuss the highest cuss. They use the word F, P, C, D every day, all day. But then when it comes time for them to sit down and start writing,
Ken Bright
there's a
said
glitch.
yes. Ken Bright said yes. It was Sandy that shared the list to those to communicate with them, with those inside.
Now I say I couldn't do that. Not that I wouldn't be willing, but yeah, I have.
Yeah, but I know you can't do it. But I'm just telling you that it was Sandy that gave
policies in my job that I can't.
Right.
Also, there's
a
grassroots.
So you have the reading is a problem. Reading is an issue. Reading and writing goes hand in hand. You ask a person to sit down and write, you could just read their writing and know how they read. They go hand in hand. I have a cousin that's in jail. When he writes me, I have a hard time figuring out what he's saying. And then if I read to you what he was saying, you would ask me, how are you able to read that? Because I've been reading wrong reading for 20 years now. And so unless we start getting to the root, which is education, where they are not educating our children at all. They're not. It's not going down. Everybody's getting passed through. And you have a small percentage of our students who are able to go straight into college and start. When they get to college, they go into remedial classes. The remedial classes eat up the loans. Right. And then by the time they get to their second year, they have to drop out. Because the load, the ability to write and read.
No, I mean, look, it's at the end of the day, you know, institutions are failing. That's the bottom line. The institutions are failing black people, you know, and we have not, and we have not matured as a people to control our institutions. You know, we haven't controlled because it's all the institutions that we claim are run by people other than us, and then we want to know why that there's no Afrocentric teaching in our school system. You know, our children are not being taught the great history of being a black American, not just in America, but our connections to Africa and our contributions to the world. You know, so we're only people we could blame is ourselves. You know, we have churches in the black communities, but you know, the churches have a building fund, but they don't have, but they're not building schools. You know, Catholics build schools.
So
black
instead
folks,
of them building schools, how about they start becoming a part of the school?
I mean,
and
you could do that
too. Accountable in the school. You know what I'm saying? And, okay, so you said they have a building fund, so have a book fund.
You can have anything, but we don't control. But you know, unless you want to control the school system, you know. But we're not controlling. You're not controlling the data that are being downloaded in our children's minds, whether it's the school system, whether it's social media, whether it's the music, you know, whether it's what's on TV. We are not. We have no control over that because, and as a whole, we don't own shit. We are a culture, a Negro culture of consumers. We don't own anything. That's why they could push this music that says nothing, and the only thing you hear is come on, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? That's why nobody, unless you were into history, you wouldn't know that there were black women that put people in outer space through and not just through labor and building the parts, but actually the mathematics that was around them putting a man in outer space. So maybe if we would have learned that, maybe more kids wouldn't want to be forwards on the basketball team. They would want to focus on their math.
We got another caller. Please state your name and your purpose for calling. Do that one?
Hold on 1 second.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
No, we still trying to.
Okay.
Go ahead, talk now.
All right. Hello?
It's still not coming in.
I can hear you guys.
Yeah, but we can't hear you.
Okay.
And that's what we want.
Well, she's coming through the speakers.
Huh?
She's coming through the speakers. Well,
Is that the way?
Go ahead now.
Hello. Can you hear me?
There you go.
Okay.
I have feedback.
First of all, good evening.
Good evening.
I was listening to Brother Damon talking about what can we do as a people to basically address the needs of our people.
Oh, real quick, state your name and where you calling from.
Najib Isaac calling from the Bronx.
Hey, sis, what's happening?
Good. How you doing? This situation that we're currently facing, that we've been facing since we were dragged here in chains, is no different. It's the fight for us to become self-determined people, to have control over our lives in a country that had us under bondage.
Right.
So we're fighting to get our minds right. That's the educational piece. So when I hear the sister who called before talking about the current status of, students, black students, and I spoke briefly on the chat about how these children are checking out. They're checking out because it's being designed for them not to see themselves within the education system of New York State or across the country, truthfully, because this is a problem across the United States.
Right.
So these kids are checking out. They're hitting the streets. They're fighting over scraps because there's nothing for them in the streets. But it's very much a designed push towards the streets, because once you get them in the streets, then you'll have the police department enforcing broken windows policing out here in New York City. I don't know, the nature in Mount Vernon, but, broken windows policing is very big in New York City. So just in case, the listeners don't know, broken windows policing is a tactic that was brought about by Bill Bratton in enforcing small offenses such as urination, spitting on the sidewalk, open containers. And in New York City, they go so hard with broken windows policing, they use that as another method of funneling these quote-unquote wayward children into the system, and the adults, because it's affecting parents as well as children. So now, as a people, it's our job to, one, educate our communities as to what's happening, and two, make the self-sacrifice to address it. How do we address it? We address it by taking the time out to let these children know their history before slavery. Because
Right.
if you think that all you ever came from was slaves, you kind of feel like, well, what am I working myself up for? We've been slaves since we came to this country, so what are we fighting for? No. As Africans in America, we have a very rich history before slavery, and these children need to know that. Just like Damon said, there has to be a reconnection back to Africa. There has to be a reconnection back to Africa. Africa must be uplifted as a place of pride, as I crack jokes and say, we set trends around here. But if it wasn't for Africa and different, countries within Africa, the Europeans would have no mathematics, no science, no medicine. These children do not know that.
Right.
And that is the crime. That us as adults who are very much aware of it are not tapping into our master teachers like Dr. Cressing, Steve Coakley, Dr. Ben Yakinen.
Yes.
Why do our children not even know? Those should be as everyday knowledge for our children as Socrates, Hippocrates, and all these other, Europeans. We must take the time out to educate our children about their true history and the greatness and the pride and the royalty of their history. I crack jokes, too. Everybody wasn't, the king and queen. But, a kingdom consisted of many people, and everybody within that kingdom was just as important as the king and queen because they uplift the people as a whole. We're not uplifting each other as a whole anymore.
You're right.
And one of the greats you said, and Cynthia, you say this on the show all the time, the reason she was well-versed in our history was not from school, it was from her father.
Mine as well. My father is Haitian. For one, I already knew about the Haitian Revolution, okay? Because this is my daddy talking to me. Two, when my father came to this country, he joined the civil rights movement. And as a child, and my mother was from the South and my father's from Haiti. So as a child, I soaked it in like a sponge, conversations about civil rights, Jim Crow, black codes, not just in school, but in the home. They turned into fights and debates, but those were life lessons. My father dragged me to UNIA meetings. Shout out to Alton Maddox. My father, and I'm talking about, I'm like 10. 10 years old as a child in very much adult spaces, but spaces that were very necessary for me. When I was 18, my father took me to the Million Women's March because he said, my daughter needs to learn that this is part of her history, and it's a cosign on me evolving into a full woman, seeing other women being active in liberation movements. Because anytime even though we work for these agencies, Damon, I work for parole, you work for corrections, you still have to bring that knowledge in every space that you are in.
That's right. That's right.
That's right.
So when I see cops, NYPD, black and brown cops, agitating our people as they take steps towards liberation movements, those people are to be shamed. Because you can do your job working for the state or the city, but still kind of say, you know what, at the end of the day, these are my people. So calling them dirtbags, go get a job, and all other kind of negative connotations. And when you see them in, movements attacking them physically, nah, B, you ain't got to do that. You ain't got to do that to collect your check. You don't.
Ms. Isaac, can I ask you a question? Are you listening to the show on any other device? And if that's up, maybe the radio or your computer or something? I'm still getting feedback. I'm trying to find out where the feedback coming from.
Okay.
If you have the show turned on anywhere else, just turn it down. Okay.
Can you hear it now?
No, that's good.
That's good. Okay.
Okay, I'm good.
What I want to add on is that the same way that you feel when you are looking at police officers and looking at correction officers is the same way that I feel when I'm in this school system and I'm looking at my black teachers. I'm like, yo, what you doing?
The
what are you doing?
Yes.
What are you doing?
That's right.
You can't tell me that this is how you doing. You cannot tell me that I walk into a school. Now, check it out, because I've been in the system for 20 years, right? Mm-hmm. I walked into a school one time. There was only 5 black teachers in that entire school. New York City Department of Education is 15% white students. The rest are black, Latino, and Asians probably make up maybe 10%. Let's give it that, right? Mm-hmm. I walked up into a school in the Bronx. The majority of the students were African American, and the reason why I say that is because it depends on where the school is at. It depends on the type of black children that are there. But they like to put down that everybody's African American. That's not true. Boom. I walked into the school, but the majority was African American. these students, this was an A+ school, ran very well, tight ship, 5 black teachers in the whole school. Black History Month program, they had that. They made sure that those students were on reading level. I leave out of that school and I go to another school where the majority of the teachers were all black. And they should have arrested the majority of the teachers out of there for not doing what they were doing. Wow. How dare you? Who are you to do your child like this? Because those children are my children. When they walk into that room, when they walk into that building, their last name turns into my last name.
Yes.
How dare you conduct yourself like that and not teach our children and take this opportunity that we have? But the majority of us in here are black. We could take we could take this and make this the mothership, but it's not being done.
And I'm going to
so
say,
now it's time to be, everybody's going to be held accountable. So I'm one of the ones that they don't like at work, and I could care less because I'm saying what I got to say.
Now, I'm going to say this, and, you know, we all work for bureaucracies, and I know the New York City Department of Education is a mess. So being that I'm not a teacher, I cannot speak to the actual inner workings of it, but I do know this. Very few teachers are even allowed to change the curriculum of what's been designed by the DOE.
That's not true. That's not true. I don't want to hear that.
No, hold on. I'm talking. When I speak, I'm talking.
Let her talk.
Let her say her comment, then you respond.
Give me 1 second.
Disagree.
Okay, all right, Cynthia.
Let her get her
let her
comment
finish,
out, and then you can respond. Go ahead,
I'm talking about when I talk about this, I'm talking about African-centered teaching. I'm not just talking about teaching about what we've normally, learned coming up as kids. I'm talking about African-centered teaching. I don't even know bare minimum, something that a teacher, a black or a brown teacher could bring into a classroom. The fact that the Africa that is viewed on the map is not even accurate. That is not the true size of Africa. So you're going to tell me a teacher can't just say, start from there and trickle in, trickle in, trickle in? A lot of them can't. But guess what? Do it. They should do it. You know why? Because when they do it, and then the pushback comes from DOE, then as a people, we need to rally around those teachers and support them and then embarrass the Department of Education in showing the racial bias.
Right.
Why are Africans, quote, Africans from Africa and Africans in America and indigenous children not allowed to learn about their history that is not in a Euro-centered context? That is the shaming that needs to be done in order to fight for our children's right to learn within a system that takes our money for taxes. But that still shouldn't stop us as a people from going after school and, once again, the dedication to teaching our children. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that you was wrong.
Cynthia?
Go into the principal will be like, write your curriculum and then submit it to me. Submit your unit to me every 6 weeks. That's number one. So you have autonomy to do what you know is right. So you're not going to be the social studies teacher where they give you a curriculum and tell you that you got to follow that curriculum. But if you're the English teacher, you will rock that all the way out. I taught African American history the entire year, and my title was the English teacher. Write your own curriculum. If you Google UFT fighting against teachers writing their own curriculum, you're going to get a whole lot of articles up because teachers been fighting saying, I'm not writing no curriculum. But we got a lot of autonomy when we walk up in there. But they're not using it. So there's a lot of individuals that have to sit down at the table and shout individuals out and be like, yo, you know good and well you could have been rocking the way that you could rock when you was in that classroom. You know that. But you refuse to. And that's the word that I'm going to use. You wasn't scared. Ain't nobody checking on these children. Nobody's coming into the classroom to check and see whether these children are learning. I'm going to keep it 100. All they checking is the data to make sure that the percentages don't go up too high so that these children continue going to jail and that the money continue coming in because it's what they look at the stats.
The third grade reading scores, right?
Not only the third grade reading scores, every single school, at the end of the school year, they want to know this. Which black boys did not pass? Which black boys got held over? And then they funnel all this money into the school, and still the numbers don't change.
Look, the numbers are not going to change because the teaching does not identify. The children cannot identify with what's being taught.
CJ run.
You know, it's not. It's not going to happen. You're not going to correct the issue in corrections when what is being taught to them, these young boys, in the correctional facility, in the youth homes, they cannot connect to it. See, so I mean, this is we're still at the bottom line, and you know, we're still at institutions. We're still at dealing with institutions that are not controlled by us, that do not have our best interests. And when we come to the realization, one day we're going to come to the realization that we have to create. You know, we have to create our own institutions.
Brother
but it's just like what the sister said. The sister said.
Hold on. Brother Ken Bright said the cycle continues, and he says many teachers do not know any ancient or African American history to teach it.
Right, and then and not only that, black people are like pigeons. Right? See, if you look at a pigeon never builds its own nest. Right? A pigeon will find other old nests to go and have a home. You know, black people is the same thing. We don't want to build our institutions. I don't know why. I really don't understand why we want to continue to be a part of institutions that were created to keep us underneath.
Well, that's the history of integration.
Right. Yeah, well, that too.
Integration is that, Damon.
Right.
That killed it all.
Yeah, well, I was going to get to that. You beat me there.
Oh, sorry.
Brother,
you know, me and Shannon joke about the one-on-one classes, so we just kind of jump. But
but you're right. You're right.
Right. So
once black people feel as though, okay, my bills are getting paid, I have access. You know, even if it's a false sense of access to upward mobility, black people think they done made it. But guess what? Just that access to, you know, the crumbs from the table still isn't empowerment of yourself or your people.
Right. And
when we truly have learned that, and then, you know, black people learn that, listen, if we not good, I ain't good. I don't care if I got 4 Benzes in the lot of my 6-bedroom house.
Right.
In blah blah blahville. Like, come on already.
So it's our charge, because this is one thing that I always speak on. It's our charge to build our parents so that our parents know that they need to start having these type of conversations and educations within the home. Because you just started out and you said that you was taught everything by your father. I was taught everything by my father.
In the home.
My father's Bahamian. See, my mother didn't go through that. But when my father came in here, he came to the United States of America in the height of the civil rights movement, and he went straight to Florida first, right? So he said he caught hell. But the thing is that it needs to be taught. See, when I speak to students, I have students that have told me before, you know, you're my first black teacher. I'm like, what? So your first black teacher is your parents.
Yes.
And our parents need to understand that. And instead of us talking about our parents, we need to teach our parents that you are the educator first. You are the one that's teaching. So I need you to come in here and sit with me so I can teach you, so that you can go and teach that's inside of your household. So that you'll know that when you go to the school and you ask, why isn't X, Y, and Z being taught? Right? Because the thing I'm thinking about is I went to school with all black. I went to school with all white. But that black education was very strong inside the house.
Yes.
My sons, too, are not going to a school that's teaching him anything. And I'm not worried about that because you're getting it inside of here.
I got two comments from the listeners. One, Ken Bright said Willie Lynch, Mind State, but Clyde D. Hodges Jr. said DK. I live in Florida. The teachers in the state do not have a strong union, but they have a class called Gifted for children that have social problems, but the money comes to the school and they use it for anything else but for the problem children. He said, talk about that. And I want to get everybody to wrap this up. So we can go on to our next topic. Go ahead.
All right, so just one thing. The monies never go to where it's supposed to go. Just make sure he understand that. I hate to hurt his feelings, but the money does not go to the proper place unless it says it particularly, such as technology, right? Then you know that has to go to technological devices. But if it says like Title I money and it's supposed to go for children who are gifted, then they could just finagle that. We're educators. Educators use the thesaurus and the Merriam-Webster dictionary so bad it's tattered. And so you get to finagle those words around and you're like, oh, yeah, so you did use the money the right way. But the money really doesn't get used the right way, just to let you know that, from the inside.
And,
the last thing, I just want to make a comment and then let Sister go so I can stop talking. We're going to have a Let Girls Learn Day in Mount Vernon. That's why I wanted to get to the reading part, you see. And Let Girls Learn Day started with Michelle Obama in 2015. And so I figured the initiative can continue. And one of the things that we practice on People Before Politics, Black Westchester magazine, is that education is extremely, extremely important, especially with our girls. And Minister Hafiz Muhammad always say that if you teach a girl, you teach a nation. And so we'll be at the library on March the 25th, which is this Saturday from 10 to 2, where girls can come and get a free book. But then we have individuals on a panel that will be sitting down and talking to the girls. And the way that our girls are featured in 2017 on social media and on television is baffling. And from my understanding, this is not just in the Black and Latino communities, this is also in the white communities where girls are not depicted in the correct manner. So come on out if you get a chance. Send your girls to Mount Vernon Library on March 25th from 10 to 12. And if you want to drop off some books, brand new books I'm looking for, you can drop them off at Cupcake Cutie Boutique, located at 8 South 6th Avenue in Mount Vernon, or Cutter's Club, located at 395 East 3rd Street in Mount Vernon, or the Alamo, which is located on 166 Gramerton Avenue, Mount Vernon, New York. And if you don't feel like dropping them off, you can meet me at Barcelona Nights on Tuesday night in the Bronx and bring some books with you. And if you can party and bust bottles and sip champagne all the time, you could definitely buy some books for some girls.
That's what's up.
Right.
Yeah, Mrs. Isaac, I know you want to give you a last chance. And everybody, there's been several comments, so I just Max wanted everybody to know, and I have to second this, that Cupcake Cutie got the best red velvet cupcakes in the world, and that's my favorite, and I had to co-sign that, so we just had to put that out there. But go ahead.
Yeah, you got to check out the carrot cake. God bless America.
I may have to whip myself around over there to Mount Vernon and check it out.
Come to Cupcake Cutie Boutique. Bring a book with you and buy a cake.
Oh yeah, listen, I'll bring a couple of books.
There you go.
Thank you very much. All right, guys, I'm gonna hang up.
All right. Pieces. All
right, cool. All right.
You still there, Ms. Isaac?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
So,
wait, now I mispronounced your first name the first time. Say
no,
your name.
you did it right the second time. I'm cool with that.
Okay, no, say it so I remember. Say let me hear you
Najib
say.
Isaac.
Huh?
Najib Isaac.
Najib.
Okay, okay. I just need to hear it, so now I know. Okay.
So, you know, just these mandates to, and you know what? There's something else. As parents, we have to be a part of the process because, once again, we talk about resource hoarding. That's why these charter schools are popping up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, charter schools siphon money from regular public schools.
Absolutely.
And then they position themselves like these, you know, hallmarks of, you know, greatness. These kids are not doing any better or any worse, but what happens is they control the process in which parents participate in their child's education. So what they have is a mandate that, as a parent, you have to come to, and they sign contracts.
Yeah. My stepdaughter used that, and you have to have participation. I had
Yeah.
in Atlanta. I had to sign up for certain amount of hours per year, where me and my wife had to go down and participate in the kid. You know, for the people that couldn't pick up their kids right after school, they had the little after school program. Where the parents had to sign up for that, and you had to sign up for something else. So I know you had to sign off on that stuff.
So, you know, that they control the way in which their school runs.
Right.
We need to flip that into the community controlling the way their school runs.
Absolutely.
But that fosters community involvement. And we're not talking, and when I speak on charter schools, we talk about how they vet, okay? Because we all need to know these charter schools vet a very particular type of parent, and in terms, they expect a particular type of student.
Right.
So they're coming after parents who have higher education levels, a degree or an advanced degree, certain income levels. Damon, I don't even have any kids. And I get calls and things in my mailbox about charter schools. Because they seeing how much I make.
Right.
And they're seeing the level of education, and they're like, oh, does she have a kid? Because that's probably the type of parent we want. But guess what? All children are deserving of an education that reflects them and their history. And we need to be kicking the Department of Education's behind in ensuring that happens. But once again, now you have to waken up the dead. So you have parents who go through, once again, I'm going to say the magical word, a plethora of issues. So you have socioeconomic, you have mental health, you have physical issues. You just have, you know, in order to become active in their child's, you know, education. So that might also mean that you have to address your education level or your lack of. Because just because somebody hasn't gone for a degree or an advanced degree doesn't mean that they're not intelligent.
Right.
So we got to pull everybody in with this conversation. Because, you know, sometimes I got to check myself and say, you know, I'm not talking to a certain type of people. I'm talking to everybody.
Right.
So when we start learning how everybody needs to be part of this liberation movement thing, we will get far. But we got to tackle it, else our kids are going to continue to be targeted. They're going to continue to drop out. Damon's going to see them when they get in, and I'm going to see them when they get out.
Wow.
Their education should not come just from seeing P.O. Isaac when they get out, and they got to report every week.
Right.
You know, because when I hit some of my guys to game, some of them say, listen, that back to Africa stuff, we passed that. And some guys are hip to it, depending on, you know, what they've been exposed to. But it's all a level of empowerment and speaking life into our people and supporting them. You know, I have my degree, you got your degree, you got all these black people with all these degrees. But using those degrees to churn a system, you also have to use your degree to empower your own people.
That's right.
So people with these JD degrees, because this is a big component that is missing. You have all these lawyers, these black lawyers, black excellence. This is black excellence. I graduated the top of Hampton. I graduated from Columbia Law. And, you know, everybody's round of applause. Okay, so what are you doing for your people now?
Right. Absolutely.
And as a people, we need to check our own people about that.
Yeah,
okay, I'm glad you graduated, sis. I'm glad you graduated, bro. But okay, so what you going to do for your people? How many hours are you going to dedicate to somebody who might be facing eviction and they need legal representation because you're fighting against gentrification, utilizing that law degree? How many times are you going to free of charge, represent somebody in a criminal court case? How many times are you going to represent somebody just doing a bare minimum, how to file a FOIL or FOIA?
Right.
In layman's terms, so that the community becomes empowered and has knowledge now to take the steps to grasp at their own power.
Right.
These are mandates that we must make on ourselves, and we must follow through. Else we're just going to be talking the talk and walking the walk in another 20 years.
Absolutely. Like one of the things we have, we're trying to educate the people, in Westchester, especially Mount Vernon, with the school board. Like, people don't know who the school board is and the power of the school board. We have a school board election coming up in 3 seats in the beginning of May, so we're going to have some of the candidates come on the show in April.
Good.
So you can talk to them, and then you can ask them those questions, and you can see what they're about, you know what I mean, before you go out and vote. And it's very important. We talk about voting for the president. We all came out for Obama. Before that, a lot of people came out for Clinton, you know what I'm saying, Bill Clinton, you know what I'm saying. But, we have these local elections,
That's
like the
right.
school board election, city council election, the local
Which has
elections.
direct control over your everyday well-being.
Right. And then, and that's so one of the things, like I said, we're bringing the candidates up here, grill them a little bit, let people get to know who they are, not just because they're on a slate when somebody else is running them.
That's
but
right.
What are you on, though? And a couple of shout-outs. Got Russell Johnson on the check-in.
What's up, Russ?
Somebody, their Facebook name is Rhythm the Designer.
Rhythm. Yo, congratulations,
okay,
Rhythm.
Okay. Patricia Tolson, L. Troy Jarvis, Fred Wall, Jarman Lewis, J.T. Fitzgerald, there's a couple other names, Jerry Franklin Jr., I think I said this name, that name. I think I said these names already. There's a couple others. If I didn't say your name, I apologize. I'm trying to get all our shout-outs to all our people that's participating. Patricia Tolson, she says, I love this sister. She said, show off their own people. She's agreeing with, she's making several comments agreeing with the stuff you were just saying.
Okay.
You have educated fools. This means nothing. Charles Stern, is Charles Stern with the what's that, Armani school? Is that the same person? You know, Damien? Okay. Well, he said interesting comments, except charter schools do not cherry. Yep, this would be Charles Stern from. He's involved in Armani, the charter school in Mount Vernon. He said,
yeah, I know he didn't want the secret to be out, but they do that in New York City schools. I don't know what they're doing in Westchester County, but they definitely do it in New York City
he
schools.
He said interesting comments, except charter schools do not cherry pick the kids.
Well, wait, hold.
I welcome you to call in and address the situation or come on the show.
We would love to, because you know what? Hold on, that's a conversation, because I forgot, and oh man. What? It was on the documentary, and I think it was Waiting for Superman was the documentary. That was about a charter school, if I'm not mistaken.
Canada.
Right. They had it was a lottery. It was a straight up lottery, and one of the studies showing the reason why charter schools was doing so well, because they were cherry picking the good students. So yes, if you have a school that you pick all the good students, you're gonna have good grade point averages. It's just common sense. And I'm not disrespecting charter schools, but
it's a hustle.
Right, but it's pointing out. So when you point to that, they do better than public schools. You should do better when you pull the good kids out of the public schools.
Public schools have no
and
say
your grade point average, right? And your grade point average is higher, while the public schools have to deal with the kids that come from all these different social ills and social problems without the proper money to put it in. So I mean, I think there's an argument to be made, and I hope one day we will have, sister, you're welcome to come on the show. We will have people
Absolutely.
for and against charter schools in the black community.
I think that would be great. We need to have a forum discussion. Damien just got a compliment from Patricia Tolson. She said, Damon, God got gifts for you, my brother. You love you love his children.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
And Maxwell said they do, and they do better when they cherry pick. And he said, yes, they do, and several other people. So, Mr. Stearns, I would like to invite you. I don't know if you know how to contact me. If you go to the website, hit contact, all my information is there. This is AJ Woodson. I'd like to invite you and engage, and we can set up a panel with some pro and against the charter school, because that's definitely a conversation we have not had yet, and I think that would be a very good, that's what the show's about, discussing those kind of issues that affect the community. I think that would be a great conversation, and you might be able to, dispel some of the myths maybe of a charter school, and defend it. So I hope you're still listening and can contact us. You can just email me, blackwestchester@gmail.com. To make it easy for you and set that up. But I want to thank the sister for calling. I want to thank everybody for chiming in on this topic.
Can I do a little plug, a quick plug?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely.
Okay, so once again, I'm part of a grassroots organization called Bronxites for NYPD Accountability, affectionately called Y Accountability, WHY Accountability. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter at WA_tweets. And, you'll find us out educating our people. We've done talks in schools. A lot of those schools don't call us back because these kids become a little bit too empowered and they're not used to that. But we do know your rights trainings.
Great.
We do street outreach, and we connect the dots from community and getting our people in the right mental space in order to empower themselves. So thank you very much, Damon. And
thank you for calling, and feel free to call in any show and voice your opinion. That's what it's all about.
Okay,
and,
thank you
and
so
let
much.
us know when you're doing some things, and maybe we could come cover it.
Before you go,
wait.
Somebody just called in.
Hold on. Since that's right, you look. Let me ask you a question.
Go.
Because next on the 30th, there will be Women's History Month, and we'll have all the Guardians Associations will be coming. I have a problem. I have a problem because when because I don't see, black law enforcement really, I started in 1990, and I was blessed to have those brothers and sisters that were on their way out the door that came in from the 60s and the 70s, and, understanding that struggle, civil rights, black power movement, and I came up under them. We don't see that same power in black law enforcement, these days. And maybe it's just me, maybe I'm bugging out, or, and I would ask you the same way, because, being in law enforcement and understanding the responsibility and having a history behind that, and then looking around to our brothers and sisters, and they are quiet and they are silent at the overt oppression of their people from their birth communities. How do you feel about that?
Well, oh boy. First of all, the silence comes from fear. I've been targeted on my job for my activities in this liberation movement outside of work. I've been targeted on the job. I've been put under investigation for protesting. I've been targeted. So when you have people who are like, listen, I got to pay my bills, my kids got to eat, I got to eat, mortgage got to get paid, they're not going to take the same risk.
Right.
So, and then there's also it's a contradiction, because depending on what hat you wear, some people feel as though, well, I'm actively participating in the oppression of my own people, and it's hard for a lot of people to deal with that.
Right.
So, once again, when I came to my job, I came there thinking, one, I wanted to utilize my degree. I studied forensic psychology at John Jay. and I wanted to help people.
Right. Right.
So, at the end of the day, I know that what I personally bring to the job, I help some people. I'm not going to help everybody, but I also work within a system that is oppressive, and I cannot, and I can't act like that doesn't exist. And I think that as individuals, as black and brown people in law enforcement, when we confront these dynamics and we work it out amongst ourselves, and once again show active support to those who are willing to take the risk, then you'll see more involvement. Because most people be like, at my job, let's say, like, we have, have you heard of the Swipe It Forward campaign?
The what?
Swipe It Forward campaign.
No.
Okay, the Swipe It Forward campaign is the campaign where we educate New York City, everybody, about how using your unlimited Metro card in order to pay for someone else to get on the bus or the train is not illegal, okay? Because that's one of the ways that they funnel poor black and brown people in New York City into arrest.
Wait a minute. So they're arresting people. If I see you and I say, you know what, here, I'm going to swipe my card, they're saying that's illegal?
No, it's not illegal, but what happens is they do these little minutia. So if I'm sitting at the 5 train on Gun Hill Road, and I go, yo, can somebody swipe me in? Yo, can somebody swipe me in? And you go, all right, swipe. The police have arrested me for solicitation. Yeah, it's happened. Or if they really want to go hardcore, they'll you and say that you're trying to sell a swipe. Selling your swipe is illegal. So if I swipe you in or somebody else swipes you in and you exchange money, that is illegal. They have made that a crime.
Right, that is crime.
Wow.
So imagine how many people, this is a big campaign we're doing now in New York City. I actively participate that. And, hashtag Swipe It Forward, and it'll give you everything you need to know. But people on my job have contributed to the Swipe It Forward campaign. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But they're not going to stand up and say, yo, when y'all do this, that, and the other, you're oppressing black and brown people into that. I'm willing to take the risk and say that and be the voice of that.
Right. Right.
I don't expect other people to have my back. I know because of how I live, I'm willing to take the risk. But when you have people in law enforcement who are not willing to take the risk, you're just going to get the silencing. That's why you had those NYPD officers who brought the lawsuit against their department about the quotas for ticketing.
Right.
Okay? So they pulled the wool off of, and we had other people come behind that in the NYPD and sit back and say, there is a quota. Why is everybody lying? But then they'll be targeted by the people on the job because, once again, them pulling the wool off of that puts the system of oppression at risk. Absolutely. So when we have these spooks who sat by the door situations, everybody ain't built for it.
No. Not at all.
Absolutely
not at all. Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. And you're 100% right. But there is an expectation.
That's right. There should be an expectation.
Yes.
And the bare minimum, when you see your people protesting in the street, you don't harass them. You don't join your white colleagues.
Right.
And speaking down on your own people.
Right.
And that seems to be something like, even when, quote unquote, white cops don't say too much, then some of these black and Latino officers feel the need to take up the charge and be like, oh, you guys need to get a life. Y'all out here protesting. I'm like, brother, man, if you knew the history of the NYPD, you would know had it not been for protests, you couldn't even hold the position that you're in right now.
Right.
So it's just astounding to me that more people, are not aware of history. We like cliff notes. We don't like to do the study.
You're right.
You got to do the study of history of these agencies, who you work for, who you might want to work for, which groups you want to get involved in, their history, whether it's a grassroots organization or a 501(c)(3), And, you know, I have my thoughts and feelings on that, but that's another day, another topic. We
have to have you.
We got it. You got to come on.
We have to have you come to the show, and just so you know, and I'm just getting to it. Charles Stern from the Amani, he said it sounds great about coming up. He'll get in touch, and he said we are bringing up important points. So
right.
Hopefully we can get him up and bring this sister and have a couple of other people with, you know, different opposing views, and we can discuss the whole charter school in the urban community.
And definitely, I want you to tune in next week because we're going to have the different presidents from the different Guardians Association. Because I think, you know, I think we need to, because we need to get more young officers to be members of these organizations. And I know a lot of officers are discouraged from joining the organizations. Right. And we have a lot of people who will call blacks in law enforcement or, you know, I mean, you know, they're racist. Well, how you gonna call us racist? You know, but that's what we hear. So, but we really need to start having these conversations and get more black officers to be involved in these organizations that are really doing things, instead of them coming to the organizations when they get in trouble, when the union has gave them the middle finger and did them dirty. That's when we see them contacting us after the union done let them down, instead of coming to us or being part of, you know, even before, so we can be assistants in the process. You know, so definitely, you know, I thank you for calling in on this show, and we're going to have a lot of black law enforcement on next Sunday, and definitely I want to hear your view of what's going on, and let them know, because sometimes I think they don't, you know, sometimes they don't hear, you know, from people that are in the system and on the street like you are on the street, and, you know, we have to have dialogue so we can make this work.
Absolutely, and we definitely want you to come back, and we want to definitely take this conversation about the Swiping It Forward campaign. We want to definitely, I want to address that from different points of view too. We do have another caller online. Thank you for calling in.
Thank you.
Feel free to call in anytime.
We'll be working together soon.
Yes,
absolutely.
All right. Good night.
Caller, thank you for your patience. Please state your name and your purpose of calling.
Peace. It's Jeff Brothers.
Hey, Jeff, what's happening, man?
What's up? You always call
like the end of the show, man.
I got to ask you.
No, I've been online. I haven't been online for like 20 minutes.
You go home for like 10 minutes, though.
Yeah.
But because, and I need Damon to have a certain amount of time to do his last follow-up closing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to ask you to keep it short this week, so.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to take time to basically plug one event that I feel kind of guilty now because, quite frankly, you know, I guess people can only go to one thing at a time, but this weekend on the 25th, I know that Sister Cynthia plugged a youth-based event at the library. And
if you'd like to make a call, please hang up and try it again.
Hold on a second.
Hello?
Yeah. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's good that that's happening. Slightly unfortunate that we have an alternative event at the same time at Thornton High School. The Mount Vernon My Brother's Keeper initiative is hosting our monthly youth talk at Thornton High School. Our My Brother's Keeper initiative meeting will begin at 11, and around midday, if our meeting can be truncated to an hour, you know, if people come on time, we'll have the youth speak start at 12 and give them a couple hours to deal with their issues, because that's a commitment we've made in My Brother's Keeper initiative. And I'll say that's an important kind of development because a couple things have happened in the last month. We've had a more focused support come from the school district leadership and the mayor's office in particular, so we can count on hopefully some more resource-based, you know, in terms of information and person power toward My Brother's Keeper to getting these services to our families that are so critical. And of course, we're always here to really fight for our children. This is about getting our children's needs met and getting our families served in the way that so many services here in Lower Westchester in particular, Lower Westchester in general, Mount Vernon in particular, to better service our families. There's so many services out here, so many people that are not aware of services that they should benefit from. MDK is really trying to focus on getting those things bridged and partnered so that we can get better promotion better acclimation of how services are suited to our neighborhoods. And, of course, we want proof that certain services that have been so hungry for resources in recent years, make sure that they're actually working. You know, we want to get data and surveys out there to make sure our families are getting services that are being rendered and how they're working out. And that's an important piece because, you know, Sister Isaac said, you know, she was on point in so many things she said in the last hour or so, because she's absolutely right about this culture piece. And, you know, I need to definitely always put that out there. It's not good enough just to have, you know, brown-faced people teaching our children or even giving us governmental services anymore. You have to be sure that they're actually in a cultural place in their own minds to serve a community with the needs and histories that we have. And in Mount Vernon, we're in a peculiar and fortunate position to have the potential to really push that need to the foreground, because obviously we have, you know, a plethora, to use Sister Isaac's favorite word, of black-faced, brown-faced leadership, but with no real cultural, most of which anyway, most of them are not really culturally centered in terms of the social, psychological, cultural needs that come from our communities. And they're prepared to, if not run the school district as a business, and I know at least one trustee who said that out loud, which I know, quite frankly, as a public school district, is, I mean, that's an abominable kind of opinion to have. Even if you're a charter school member or a charter school owner or operator, you know, that's a natural philosophy to run it as a business, which, you know, if anyone understands capitalism knows why that's problematic. And some of those issues, it sounds like Charles Stern is willing to challenge, and that should be interesting to hear him challenge those assertions truthfully, because charter schools as a corporate model of education have not experienced the benefits or the service that they're supposed to render to our families. So it should be interesting to see what he proposes. And quite frankly, I'd like to see how Amani speaks to that question, because they've been out there for a little while now, and they've had some challenges, I'm sure, but they've also had some successes. It'd be nice to know that they're actually serving this community in the way that the community really needs, better than just average commitment from our educators.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe we'll schedule you to be on that show also, because, you know, I know you have been involved, you know, in the school system with the PTA and everything like that. And I think that, you know, that'll definitely be it'd definitely be a good look for you to be involved in that conversation, you know, because you know, I'm not a fan of charter schools. I don't have no children. I have a granddaughter that's getting ready to go to school, but that's from years from now. But, you know, I'm not a fan of a charter school. So, but I would love to hear the argument, you know, on what, you know, on what it's all about, and how do you know, black people benefit from this as a whole? How do our community benefit, you know, from you know, when you have so many children in the Mount Vernon School District, and then you have a school that's only going to hold 200 kids, you know, how does that benefit the community as a whole? You know, and this is a conversation that needs to be had. And then they're fighting to take our school funds away. You know, now, you know, you have a charter school. If you're raising your money and have your own charter school, by all means, do your thing. You know, but now you're having a charter school, and you're going to say, well, we want to take the limited funds, you know, from the public school, you know, and especially a school system like Mount Vernon that has overabundance of children, because Mount Vernon has been the dumping ground for Westchester County for families that are in need, you know, and now you want to take money from that. You know, I think that's very, you know, inconsiderate, and that's very selfish.
And that's why I'm looking forward to having that conversation.
I want to have that. I want to really, I want to really have that conversation.
Justin from all sides.
As always. Again, I want to specify Thornton High School is at 121 South 6th Avenue. So I want to make sure people get out there and attend this My Brother's Keeper piece, because we really do need, you know, people on the ground. You know, we these debates over these other issues, you know, it's good to have them, but this is 2017. These debates are 20, 30 years old at this point, and now we got to start acting and organizing. So, while I support the show and whatever, aspects of contribution I can make, but, I gotta tell you, we're done talking now. It's time to start acting on what we know.
Absolutely.
And, we want to see these people turn out on Saturday. So thanks again for your time, brothers.
Thank you, brother.
No, thank you. And, real quick, coming to the close of the show, we got a few minutes left. I know, Damon, you had wrote something about the FOP support of Trump and how that could be a downfall in the unionized labor, and pending bill, the HR 785. So I know you needed a little time to do that. So we're gonna have you address that right now.
I wanted, people could go to Black Westchester. Oh, you got it up. Okay, great. People go Black Westchester, and we got to understand, everything is consequences, and for years, I always wondered why, police unions, law enforcement unions, they really act like they were not part of the bigger labor movement, and understanding, the labor movement and what it is, and also, being part of the middle class. If you're a union, you're labor, you are fighting for rights, and the strength, of the labor unions and the private sector, whether we believe it or not, are closely tied together. Lunch breaks and 5-day work weeks, that came from the struggle of actually unions, struggling against corporations to get these rights, 8-hour work days, to get these, to actually get these rights. And over the years, law enforcement has always, I remember in the 90s, they always had good relationship with the Republican Party. They always had a great relationship with the Republican Party. But now, primary after, 2000, it kind of went sour because the attack on labor per se, when they actually started seeing that unions were the driving force behind majority of Democrats, they started plans on attacking unions. And for some reason, we felt that attack on unions was not affecting police unions as a whole. And I noticed something, someone posted up a bill, and when I researched the bill, HR 7075, and it's basically named, I think it's the Right to Work Act, right? And when people understand right to work states, right to work states are states that you do not have to pay into union dues, right? You don't have to pay in union dues. You just work, even though
and they can let you go anytime they want, like Georgia,
right? Yeah. So when you and you still have collective bargaining, and like some states, the FOP are fraternal organizations. In some states, they are the collective bargaining unit. That's why you see them everywhere. Because in most of the states that have unions, especially in the South, the FOP is that union. In New York, they are fraternal organizations. They're not unions because New York, they have their own they have their own unions. So the FOP was one of the major law enforcement supporters, right, nationally, that supported Trump. They actually supported Trump, and they also put out what they wanted to see in Trump's first 100 days. Now, if you and that's online, it's on the article, and you can see it as the FOP letterhead on it. That's the bill, but the Trump the FOP letter. Now, if you look at the first 100 days of the Trump administration, from the Federal Order of Police, right? It mentions nothing about anything dealing with actual labor, right? All the potential actions through executive order, right, is based on reducing oversight of law enforcement, right? They're even asking President Trump to put an executive order to lower the oversight on racial profiling. Now, we know racial profiling exists, right? So they also wants to pull back recommendations from 21st century policing, right? They want extension of the 287G program. That's the whole part of immigration, working alongside local law enforcement, which people are fighting, right? They want to strengthen ICE, right? Immigration customs, right? So they even want to defer actions for childhood arrivals, and using a federal database to identify those for deportation. Well, they already have that. So what we see right now with the whole immigration issue and ICE rolling up on people and doing what they want, this is part of what the FOP wants to do. And what's crazy is that they want to actually look at Obamacare. Now, this is a law enforcement organization. They want a legislation to repeal and possibly replace, right, Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act and Obamacare, which may end the impending Cadillac tax, right? So they even want to replace and repeal Obamacare. So they want what's now, it's up to 24 million. This is a law enforcement organization wants to take health care because they're saying that this replace and repeal will affect about 24 million people. So law enforcement organization. And what's the hypocrisy is that none of this in their first 100 days of Trump, right, have addressed anything about the health of law enforcement throughout the United States, right, the health of their families, the mental health of law enforcement. They haven't addressed anything. So what this document is basically a right-wing agenda that's pushed through a law enforcement organization, right? Now, what's the crazy thing about it is they got trumped because while they're wanting that, which is the right-wing agenda, H.R. 75 is being pushed and passed, which will destabilize unions all over the country. And there's there's nothing to say that any first responder unions or any law enforcement unions are exempt from this bill. So what does that do? So that says I'm a union member. I've been paying union dues for the last 27 years. I don't have to pay union dues. So what that will do is that would end the financial flow, the money flow to unions, so they won't be able to support candidates. And not only that, that will just give municipalities, that will give businesses, to go and not pay prevailing wages. So we have a problem here. We have a big problem. And I think it just went over a lot of these unions' heads that actually came out and supported Trump. Police unions always say we're overworked and underpaid. Right? That's what they always say. Well, we really will be underpaid now if this bill passed. we will really be underpaid. And it won't be the destruction of unions, it would be destruction of the middle class. Well, what we know it. You know, it will definitely be something terrible to a lot of black communities, because a lot of black civil service workers belong to unions. You know, and that helped rise the middle class through the 60s or 70s, being a part of unions. And they know that, and they know that also. So we just want to inform the public, especially those workers and those people, no matter what color you are, that belong to unions. The unions that have supported Trump, you know, supported Trump in his whiteness, didn't know, you know, the actual values of this man, and they didn't support Trump for their interests. You know, what unions are all about. And I think this is a very dangerous situation, you know, that we are playing. You know, and the FOP, the FOP has a lot of issues. You know, because even the Chicago FOP president, he had the nerve to say a couple of weeks ago that the FOP or cops care more for black lives than black politicians. You know, and you know, the FOP likes to play a lot of dog whistle politics. You know, and we're seeing it, and we're seeing it now. You know, and we basically have to say, you know, please, you could put whatever you want in front of the please, because, you know, it's a shame that he would even say that when these black politicians in Chicago, the only thing they're asking for is proper oversight. They're not asking for anything that is extra, but they're saying within their contract, let's have a little oversight. You know, let's have a little control if an officer loses control. So now he's using dog whistle politics to go after the black elected officials in Chicago, and he's playing to his base because election is coming up. You know, we know how they do, because Pat Lynch does the same thing. He did the same thing with de Blasio when he had officers, you know, turn their back against the mayor, when the mayor was just saying that he has concerns about his young black son having police contact, you know, and Lynch had all officers turn their back. And, you know, the sad thing about it, you know, when Sister Najib was saying, yeah, there were some black officers that actually turned their back too. Yeah. You know, not like, you know, they're immune to this. You know, forgetting all the different officers that have been shot and killed, you know, by their counterparts, beaten up by their counterparts. And they're going to turn their back too, when he's no different than any other black family that has a black son that is concerned when their child has police contact. Rightfully so. You should be.
Absolutely.
I'm concerned if I have police contact, and my wife's a cop.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? You know? But this, you know, I mean, this is what we're dealing with. And it's going to be consequences. And if, you know, I'm happy as hell, you know, that I'm close to the end of my career. Because it might just slip through. And there's going to be problems. And I hope people need to wake up, and all you black law enforcement that ride around with these FOP plates, you need to take them off. You need to take them off. You need to go on the website and look at the first 100 days that they want, because it could be you affected by one of those laws they want to be repealed.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. It's crazy altogether. I mean, Brenda wanted me to, shout out to the Mount Vernon boys varsity basketball team who just won the New York State Public High School Athletic Association championship. So shout out to the kids. Again, like Cynthia said, let girls learn. Brenda has posted it in the and Cynthia posted it in the comments. That is Saturday, March 25th, 10 a.m. to 12 noon. And to drop off new books, you can drop them off at Cupcake Cutie or Cutter's Club.
Oh, we're done. Put a fork in us.
Okay. Well, that's it for the announcements. But I wanted to make sure Damon got a chance to do that.
Yeah.
Stay tuned next week. We're gonna have.
We forgot to talk about the press conference with the city council. We have to get that in next week. I got some things to say about that too. I forgot.
No doubt. Thanks to everybody who listening. Thanks for everybody calling. Y'all could all be doing something. Y'all could be doing anything else right now, but y'all decided to ride with us, and we greatly appreciate it. This is Black Westchester presents People Before Politics. Every Sunday, 6 to 8 on InTheMixRadio.com.
Peace, y'all.
Recent trends in these political elections. Any minority that has a block of votes that stick together is in a strategic position. Either way you go, that's who gets it. You're in a position to determine who go to the White House and who stay in the doghouse. You're the one who has that power. You and I have never seen democracy. All we've seen is hypocrisy. When we open our eyes today and look around America, we see America not through the eyes of someone who has enjoyed the of Americanism. We see America through the eyes of someone who has been the victim of Americanism. We don't see any American dream. We've experienced only the American nightmare. We haven't benefited from America's democracy. We've only suffered from America's hypocrisy. And the generation that's coming up now can see it and are not afraid to say it. 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 And are not afraid to say it.